it's Judy Turner with Domicile Design and Centurion Roman Shade. In this series, I'm going to take you through the steps to make a hobbled shade, which you see here. We're going to use a 3-cord widget kit from centurionrs.com. In the kit, you'll get a widget, you'll get ladder tape, you'll get the screw eyes, the mounting screws, a hem grip, and Skirtex, which are going to be used in this shade here. If you're making a hobbled shade and you order your Centurion widget kits from us, you can put in your notes that you would like to request an extra piece of Skirtex. So just remember that, and when we get to that point, you'll see where we're going to need that extra piece of Skirtex. If you don't ask for it, then you're going to need an extra hem stiffener for your project. So you're also going to need your face fabric and your lining. You're going to use a wood mounting board. We like to use a 1x2 pine common stock, and this is going to be cut just slightly less than the width of the shade. For this project, we're going to make a 24x45 inch long shade. You're also going to need a steel weight bar. This is 3/4 of an inch high by 1/8 of an inch thick, and it comes in 3 and 4 foot lengths at your local hardware store. You're also going to need some white duct tape and some 4-inch iron-on buckram. So this is a non-woven buckram that I'm going to use, and it has an iron-on surface on the back side. You could also use a woven and a non-iron-on buckram, which may or may not have the iron-on facing. If it doesn't have the iron-on facing, you're going to want to use an adhesive to attach it to the fabric, and you're going to want to test that on your fabric before you start constructing your shade. Other things that are going to be helpful in making your shade, you're going to need scissors, a long ruler, pencil, needle and thread, some white glue. You're going to need a stapler. It could either be a handheld stapler like this or a pneumatic stapler. You're also going to want to use an awl and a Phillips head screwdriver, a metal blade saw, which could also be a power tool. You're going to need a wood handsaw for cutting the mounting board, which could also be a power tool. So for our sample, we're going to use the 3-cord widget kit. Now I'd like to go through the difference between a flat Roman shade and a hobbled Roman shade that you see here. We have a 12-part series which walks you through what we call a basic flat Roman shade. So this was the hand sample that we made during our series. It was a different fabric, but this is the same size. So you can see on this that the print continues all the way down the length of the shade uninterrupted. And from a side profile, it's, as it's called, it's flat. It's totally flat. And then from the back also, it's the lining fabric. There's a hem grip here at the bottom. And on this one, it's right at the bottom of the shade, but it could also be a concealed grip, which is further up. That's a modification that you could make to a flat Roman. And so it goes up and down quite simply as a flat piece of fabric. You can also take a note of the fact that the stack on this flat Roman is fairly tight. There's the mounting board depth, and there's the depth of the folds as they fold on top of each other. So this can be a pretty tight stack in a window. So the difference when we look at a hobbled shade is a hobbled shade has soft folds. It's not a flat piece of fabric, and what you can see from this printed fabric is that it's going to interrupt the print because of the folds that come up and under. It's still going to go up and down. But you can see now that the stack is going to be much deeper. And this is because all these folds have a little bit of extra fabric in them. And when it comes down, it retains the curves, the soft folds of the shade, and from a side profile, you can see that it is not just flat, but it has a little, it's been hobbled here, pinched up, and it creates these soft folds all the way down. The fabrication that I'm going to show you, because there are different ways that you could make a hobbled shade. This one I find to be, I hope, the most simple. This one has a flat piece of lining. So what that means is our cords are going to be flat against the back of a flat piece of lining. We're going to have some structure and some tack points put into our shade, and therefore we're going to create and maintain a child-safe shade. Oftentimes with a hobbled shade, because you have this extra fabric in here, it's hard to maintain the minimum circumference space if this lining fabric followed the length of the face fabric. It would create a much bigger space and potentially a child hazard. So that's a difference from this fabrication to some other fabrication styles. I'm also going to show that from the back, you're going to see that the grip is here. It's underneath the bottom of the shade, and the hem grip is under about 2 inches up from the finished length of the shade. So when it comes down, you never see the hand grip. It's just under the hem on the lining layer. And I wanted to show you that because the way we're going to go through the steps of this hobbled shade is we're actually going to start with the lining. So I'm going to remind you about some of this as we go. So that's the difference between a flat Roman shade and a hobbled Roman shade that we see here. So your shade might be a different size than what we're going to create in this series. And you're going to need to determine how many lift cords you need. The Centurion Roman Shade Widget Kit comes in 2-cord, 3-cord, and 4-cord options. You can add more widget kits if you need 6 or 8 lift cords. You can also get by with fewer lift cords than the recommended 10-inch spacing if you put structure into your shade. So if you use ribs or some other kind of structure, you can go probably wider than the 10 inches, which would be recommended for an unstructured shade. But you're going to want to test your fabrics and see how much support and what that span is. Start with 10 inches, and if you have structure, and I will say that this shade here does have some structure. It doesn't have ribs, but we're going to put structure into it with the iron-on buckram or the buckram strips. So keep that in mind. You can experiment, do a little research and development on it with your fabrics, do just a little sample and see how wide you can go with your lift cords, because you can probably go wider than that 10-inch spacing. So that's how you determine how many lift cords you need. And for this kit, like I said, if you're going to follow along and make this size shade as a nice sample, you're going to want to order a 3-cord widget kit. Make a note that you're making a hobbled shade and give us the width that you're going to need, and we're going to give you some extra Skirtex that is going to be a little bit wider for this bottom hem, and you'll see where we use that. So if you're ready to start, let's get started.